Buckle up. You are listening to Musicians and Beyond with Sarabian and Lawhorn, where we bring you the backstage info on the life, the lyrics, and the long journeys of the music industry. Last episode, we had the amazing, incredible singer-songwriter Chris Gendron. He played a song for us that's never been heard before by the public and even by his band. And he tells us some really inspirational stories, how he has overcome some physical and medical conditions. This is definitely an episode you don't want to miss, so if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to episode number 90 with Chris Gendron and show him some love, give him a follow. Today is a special treat, episode 91. This guy tells us how AC/DC changed his life and made him want to be a guitar player. And Joel Hoekstra is the most down-to-earth and extremely talented guy we've come across. He has played with Cher, Whitesnake, Foreigner, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and that's just a few to start. He's been on TV with Jay Leno, America's Got Talent, Billboard Music Awards, Regis and Kelly, and it goes on and on. But you don't want to hear from us. Let's hear from Joel and bring in Joel Hoekstra.
Hey, gotcha.
You got me. All right. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. How about you?
Not a hell of a lot. I'm sitting here in Boston. Looking forward to talking to you. I know you get a really busy schedule. We're interested in hearing your past, present, and future endeavors with what you've been doing. So how did you get into this whole music thing?
I started playing basically because of AC/DC, Back in Black, seeing Angus Young on MTV and thinking that he was the coolest person I'd ever seen. So
well, he really is.
He is. He still is. My parents were classical musicians, and they had me playing cello and piano at a young age and grew up surrounded by music. But that was really the first time I kind of expressed an interest in actually playing and realized I could play music that I like. And so, yeah, I mean, that was how I got into it. And as far as, bands and stuff like that, it's a way longer answer. I used to just jam with drummers a lot when I was younger. We couldn't get a full band when I was probably till I was about 15 was when I joined my first band.
Cool. Yeah, it's hard to bring around a cello and a piano. I guess it's a little easier to leg a 6-string on your back, right?
Yes.
So are you all packed for the big Monsters of Rock cruise coming up?
Oh, no. I'll pack the night before and fly morning of the boarding and everything. I'm always down to the wire guy because I have so much happening. But yeah, looking forward to it. I'll be playing my set on there, which I do annually, which is very interesting set. Kind of starts out with the first time they had me do it, me playing like fingerstyle acoustic off of my acoustic album. And so it starts out really mellow, but I give away free Bloody Marys to everybody throughout the set and give away stuff between every song. And that was kind of the appeal. And then I started to add the Y&T guys on bass and drums, Mike Vanderheuvel, and at the time, Brad Lang, and now Aaron Lee has become their bassist. So they pretty much are my go-to guys and for bass and drums. And then I'll usually sing a little bit. Then I'll usually call up either a combination of guest vocalists or a designated guest vocalist to sing 5 or 6 songs, kind of, actually hear a real singer sing. And
right.
And so by the end, we're jamming on like Highway to Hell, So we've gone all the way from kind of playing this mellow fingerstyle stuff to jamming on AC/DC kind of acoustic style. And so it's a real interesting set, but it's a big fan favorite because I give away stuff and that's really taken off. I've got like actual companies sponsoring it these days, trying to get their merch in there, giving away turntables and Bluetooth speakers and all kinds of like legit stuff. It, started out as like ridiculous stuff. Sometimes I would just take a $20 bill and throw it out in the crowd and go,
oh, that's
for
awesome.
somebody.
But everyone loves something free.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that's a big thing on there. And then I've been playing these acoustic duo shows for really quite a while, but they've taken off the last few years with my friend Brandon Gibbs. So that we just call Hoekstra Gibbs, and so we're doing 2 of those as well. So I'll be going on with my acoustic and just kind of sitting in the training seat for Accept still because they're playing on the boat, but I'll be touring with them obviously coming up in really late April all the way through, I think, August 3rd or something like that. So Latin America, and the European festivals. So I'm just going to watch their set and listen in ears, basically, which will be helpful and be able to play the guitars that I'm going to use their gear just to keep it like cohesive. And, they use these Framus Vs. And so it gives me a chance to get used to those a bit, listening to their in-ears and playing through their Kempers that they play through. They've got a very streamlined production setup. So it gives me an opportunity to hang and go through stuff with Wolf a bit on the cruise too. So yeah, there's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening. It's what a blast that must be going on that cruise. I mean, anyone is on that cruise. So it's probably a great networking event for you.
Yeah, Larry Morand runs that cruise, and Larry and I have a good friendship going back to when I was with Night Ranger. Larry actually was the tour manager for a little bit, just kind of almost taking it on an interim basis until they found somebody. But he's just a great guy. We made friends immediately, and Night Ranger did the very first Monsters of Rock cruise when I was still with them. And then the next year they weren't going to do it. And I had gone up on deck like day 2 with my acoustic, thinking somehow naively that I was going to be able to play acoustic and not have people pay attention or something. I was just going to go up and practice. And they ended up plugging me in, and Larry said, why don't you come on, and do that acoustic stuff you're doing? I'm like, you want me to play mellow fingerstyle acoustic on a heavy metal cruise? Like, okay, I'll do it just to be on the boat. And that was the justification for it, was all the marketing stuff. I was like, I'll give away free drinks and I'll give away free stuff, and no one can complain. Yeah. And it actually has become kind of like an annual thing. Well, not kind of, it is an annual thing on the cruise. So that's really, it's become a tradition, which is kind of fun. A little rite of passage for people to get up early and come down and see the set like first thing in the morning. So, and yeah, obviously seeing all the other bands on there is great. And so many of the fans who are on there year after year. There is a little bit of a, I guess, like community aspect to the cruise. You see a lot of the same people, so it's kind of like an annual gathering.
Yeah, fun. And you guys get to play basketball and stuff like that and relax. I saw some pictures of you with some good friends of mine, the boys from Extreme, playing basketball a couple of years back. Actually, we're recording from the hometown of Pat Badger.
Okay, right. Yeah, the Extreme guys are great guys. And so that started out like, I'd say maybe my second or third year on the cruise. I went up on deck and I started playing some cruisers like 1-on-1 and stuff like that, a little bit of 2-on-2 or whatever, and just kind of, but just noticed that was like a cool thing, because that's a whole different bond than somebody coming up and asking for an autograph or a picture or something like that, or watching you play and wondering if they can say hi in the hallway. It was like a genuine hang where you're like all on the same level and you kind of build a friendship. And so I suggested to Larry, I said, why don't we have a thing where people can sign up to play me 1-on-1 in basketball? I think it would be really a good thing for the cruise, something fun. And as it turned out, a lot of the other rockers were like, hey, I want in on that. And so we ended up kind of building that into a full game that was like, 5-on-5, and they make uniforms for it and all this stuff. And I don't know if the game is happening this year because of what happened with Nuno last year.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, Nuno, he had like a pre-existing injury to a degree that, got aggravated and then some. It actually was really severe, but, it wasn't due to contact or anything. He just kind of came down awkwardly and it just happened. It was a freak accident, but, obviously you feel terrible for Nuno. And so getting the other rockers to play at this point in time might be a little bit of a challenge now that there's been like an actual injury. So I might just do my thing where I go up and play 1-on-1 with some people and hang out and have a good time. I like it personally. I think it's kind of cool because it kind of puts us all on equal ground, as opposed to like band and cruiser.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that. I'm sure the management has tightened up on some of the bands playing. I know that I don't think you'll see the Extreme Boys out there anymore, but besides that, but no, it's a great thing. I got to get myself on one of those cruises.
Yeah, they're a great time. I mean, I've been on a few of them over the years, and it's certainly my favorite one. They do a great job with social media and building it, and Larry's a great guy. That the whole team there is just good people, and that's my cruise in essence. That's the one I just do year after year.
Right. Awesome. And you're involved in a lot of other things right now too. Can you tell us about some of those things?
Oh gosh, I mean, I hardly know where to begin. I mean, I just got done counseling at a rock and roll fantasy camp in LA and have another one coming up right after that. And I'll also be, while I'm out there on that trip, playing with the Rock of Ages band, who I play periodically with. And that's not the show, it's the band kind of just going out and having a fun cover band night where we play the songs from the show, and you can come kind of hang out with us. And those are fun events. So that's in Cerritos, California on March 9. And then March 10, I've got an event at a school called Rock Stars at Tomorrow in Norco, California, where I'm doing essentially like a workshop. I like to use the term rather than master class. That sounds so self-important, but just kind of like, teaching some of my things that I teach and do that are kind of a part of my style and sound. And so I'll be doing that. And then the rock camp happens, and that'll be 4 days, and come back from that and just get myself ready to do more touring with Brandon Gibbs, the Rock of Ages band, and Accept, of course, starts up. Rehearsals for that for me start April 22nd. So I'm kind of practicing that on a daily basis as well. Already right now, just getting a head start on things. And Latin America, I forget the date, the first date, but it's late April, and runs through mid-May, like even a little past mid-May. I think I get like a week break at home, and then I'm going to tour the UK with Brandon. We're doing an acoustic tour, and even during that, the festival season begins with Accept. I'm going to leave for 2 days of that and go play the first festival with them, come back and finish the acoustic tour with Brandon, and then basically designate myself to doing the festival season with Accept in Europe, which I'm looking forward to. Those are, you've seen the European festivals, and those are just all blast. And so we're just, looking forward to getting out there with those guys and rocking. I think they're a great sounding live band, and everybody seems like great guys. So looking forward to working with them for a bit. And yeah, man, I mean, of course, that's the bulk of the year in terms of what's going to keep me busy. I'm working on my own album right now that I wrote, and I need to get the song ideas to Vinny Appice. That Joel Hoekstra's 13 is my rock project that Vinny is the drummer on, and Tony Franklin plays bass, Derek Sherinian does the keys, and Girish Pradhan sings the lead vocals, and then Jeff Scott Soto, because he's a dear friend, does backing vocals on it for me as a favor, which is amazing and so cool and really adds to the sound of it. So anyway, yeah, that's in the works. There's another, obviously just released an album from Revolution Saints, which is with Dean Castronovo from Journey and Jeff Pilson of Foreigner. So the three of us just came out with Against the Winds on February 9, so people can check that record out. It's actually off to a really good start and doing quite well, and people are enjoying that. And then there's another project I do with Frontiers called Iconic with Tommy Aldridge, my White Snake, and Michael Sweet from Striper, who you might know from the area there. And let's see, Marco Mendoza, and then Nathan James, who's amazing young vocalist, from his band Inglorious is his main thing. But there will probably be a record from that later this year as well.
That's awesome. You align yourself with some really good names. And, for our listeners, they can find out all of this information. They can go to your website, Joel Hoekstra, that's HOEKSTRA.com. And you're really good about posting, you get some great pictures, but also about where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing. So our listeners can check that stuff out.
Yeah. I mean, I try to keep people up to date on there, do my best. And yeah, it's social media is obviously a little bit more up to date on some of the stuff but you can click over from joelhoekstra.com to any of my social medias and follow me there as well. So there are some things that fly under the radar. Like last night, I did a virtual master class. Again, I hate the term, but for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. And so that's something that didn't get necessarily to my .com, but was something that was happening.
So tell our listeners, what is the fantasy camp? Is that when someone can sign up and play along with a established musician like yourself?
Yeah. So the way it works is that they hire counselors, and one counselor per band, and they assign you band members. And then your job is to get them ready to play with the headliners. And even there's usually one or two occasions where you play even without the headliners, but the respective headliners, like for this upcoming camp, are Michael Anthony of Van Halen, Warren D. Martini from Rat, Sebastian Bach, and Tommy Aldridge, my Whitesnake bandmate. So usually pick a couple songs from each of those, all those headliners, and you kind of prep your band to play them. And a lot of times I'm a part of the band when we play it with the headliners. In fact, most of the time. And that's kind of my gig there. And then you do a little master class there as well, like live in the rooms. And then there are jam rooms and things like that. So they're really long, fun days. I mean, it's like there's a lot happening at rock camp. But a lot of it is just, again, it's that process of kind of bonding for 4 days. It gives people like a taste of what it would be like to be like kind of a full-time musician really for 4 days. Because most of the people that attend are either kind of older people that wish they had done it, or younger people who aren't quite there yet that want to, get a taste of what that's like. But it's a great opportunity to get to play with famous people, get all your stuff signed by them, take pictures with them, etc. So yeah, they're cool. It's a really unique experience. It's kind of hard to totally describe, but that's as best as I can do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you're able to, walk someone through it wants to be a musician. I mean, it's not really what it's cut out to be. Everyone thinks it's, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but there's a lot of time, effort, traveling. You got to be away from your home, your family, your wife, your kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's there's an upside and a downside to, I suppose, everybody's jobs, whatever it is you choose that you do. So, I mean, it's, in general, music is more like a roller coaster, I think, and steady jobs are like that. So sometimes they can feel more mundane to people, and they hate their existence because it's just kind of like, boy, I guess I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life and nothing is ever going to change. And music is a lot more all over the map, doing all kinds of different stuff. And sometimes there's really high highs and sometimes there's really low lows. But,
and watching your trajectory of the roller coaster, it's up there. I mean, you've played with Cher. Whitesnake, you really established yourself out there. What was it like to play with Cher?
Cool. I mean, she's very professional and very nice. And, it has a situation like that where I would almost label it like a pop gig in a sense, although Cher is kind of like, lives in her own territory. She's Cher, and then there's kind of the rest of the entertainers. But, it's not so much about her coming over and saying, hey, would you mind playing this part like this? It's more, you're dealing with the musicians, the music director, and the other musicians in the band, and then of course there's dancers. So you travel with it's a large group of people that tour with something like that, and you just try to stay in your lane and do your job basically. But she's very cool, very nice. Yeah.
How do you get in touch with someone like that? Like, do you read somewhere that she's hiring a guitarist, or does someone tell you, or like, because you're in some really big acts, and how do you get into them?
Yeah, that particular one was just knowing David Coverdale was going to have knee surgery in 2017 and saying, we're not going to tour this year. So I just texted a lot of my friends and said, hey, I'm not really looking for a new gig per se, but if anybody needs a sub or a fill-in this year, keep me posted, kind of thing. And my friend Justin Derrico, who plays with Pink and plays on The Voice, ended up connecting me with his co-guitarist on The Voice, Dave Barry, who was Cher's guitarist. Dave was saying, I need somebody to fill in. And it was looking like it was just going to be a few shows, and it really ended up turning into a few years. I mean, Justin ended up going out with Pink on a promo tour, and they really needed Dave at The Voice, and Cher enjoyed having me. So that in turn turned into, like I said, really a few years when I was I was thinking it was just going to be a few shows.
Yeah. Have you seen a Pink concert?
I have. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of concerts. I was blown away. My wife took me in. I didn't know what to think when I got there, and I was in love afterwards.
She's incredible. She's an incredible entertainer, and I'm friends with her band members, that essentially people that were going back and forth. There's a lot of people that go back and forth between those two camps because it's the same management, same manager, Pink and Cher. So you see a lot of crew members floating back and forth, and Justin is really. He isn't underrated because he's playing stadiums with Pink and he's playing on a huge national TV show. But He's a really incredible guitarist. He's got not only the ability to, learn all the ridiculous amount of material you need to learn for the voice and sight read it and sight reads like crazy and play very like session like, but he's also got his own style and his own thing and plays every genre like totally, seamlessly and flawlessly. He's really a great guitar player that's kind of left out of the discussion. I think because people don't know often include like pop guitarists in the discussion of like who are the top people out there right now.
Right.
They tend to include the bands where you're showing it off all the time, or if you're an instrumentalist, solo artist yourself, But he's a really incredible player.
Yeah, and as are you. You are not really just stuck to one genre either. You dabble into a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been open-minded really, I guess by nature. Growing up in the 80s, that was cool. We had the guitar albums and all that stuff, but it was also cool to like, not just listen to the shredder guys. Like, obviously there was a great movement there when I was a kid of Yngwie and Satriani and Vai and Steve Morse and guys like that putting out records. But it was also cool to be listening to Al Di Meola or Alan Holdsworth or, Joe Pass or anybody who was good on guitar. It was cool at the time. It was cool to listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. It was cool to, listen to Christopher Parkening play classical. It was just like kind of a cool era to grow up in, where all of that was deemed cool just because of talent level, right? Because the shred thing, one nice thing about it was what was respected was the talent level. So, that was a cool scene to grow up in. And then I think really the main contributing factor was all that kind of died when I got out of guitar school. So it was like the 90s hit and you couldn't just get by on like technical proficiency and say, this is why I'm good on guitar. So it sort of launched me into a career of playing with anybody and anything just to be a better musician and working and find different ways to prove my value, like, professionalism, being on time, having a good attitude, all that stuff, doing my homework really well. And then oddly enough, I mean, I did really well and made my living with music my whole life. But a lot of people think I must have done something else because in this 80s resurgence scene, people know me mainly after I joined Night Ranger, and they go, well, where were you? What were you doing? I was always playing guitar for a living. I just wasn't as well known. I was doing some things like playing with the Turtles and playing with Big Brother and the Holding Company and playing in theater and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, just being open-minded as a professional is a great thing. I've played with all kinds of bands and like all kinds of music, and I just love playing, man. At the end of the day, I don't really necessarily need shred and guitar heroics to make me happy playing. I'm happy playing like in any way, shape, or form. I do enjoy it at a high level though. Like I like it with great musicians, but I don't necessarily have to be like the shred guy per se.
Right. And you did mention theater. So you have been in a bunch of theater productions. You did Rock of Ages. And what else have you been in?
Well, Love Janis was really my first. That was a show about Janis Joplin, and that's led me to come to New York City, basically. And that ran for a couple of years. And that director sent that out to regional theaters where you would sit down for like a few weeks and go to different cities. And so I did travel with that quite a bit, but not like day to day kind of thing. It was like go to, whatever, Tucson for 3 weeks, go to Phoenix for 3 weeks. I think in total, I did that in Louisville, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Tucson, Phoenix, San Francisco, in addition to the 2-year run in New York. And then he had another show, a blues show called It Ain't Nothing But the Blues, which I did that in Kansas City, Tucson, Phoenix, and Seattle. So those are great ways to build your chops. You're playing 8 shows a week and you've always got a full house of people. You're playing for hundreds of people, not for 10 people in a club somewhere. And so good way to make a living as far as being like a pro guitarist and feeling the pressure of playing things like exact and things like that. Theater can be it's funny how environments like that can make playing a G chord feel difficult. Suddenly you start thinking about, how do I strum that? Do I strum it like this? Do I strum it,
Right.
So good attention to detail, good stage performance stuff. And then I did some pit stuff. So I had a friend here who lives nearby he's a professional pit guitar player, and I just started learning whatever shows he was on and would sub for him. So I subbed on The Boy from Oz, La Cage aux Folles, and then Tarzan.
Oh, cool.
And being in Tarzan, subbing for him kind of led to me getting Rock of Ages. The keyboard player for that show became the music supervisor for Rock of Ages and remembered me and hired me to do that show. So that was sort of the payoff then, is getting like a 6+ year run on Broadway with that show. And of course, Trans-Siberian Orchestra has elements of theatricality to it as well, with the story in the front end. And I always think of TSO as kind of a hybrid of rock and classical and theater. There's like, if you took all three of those things and mashed them together. It's an immensely successful tour that happens religiously around, the holiday season. So pretty much like, rehearsals start end of October for me every year with that. And I've been with them since 2010. So that's, always one of the top Billboard tours, Polestar tours every year. We're, drawing ridiculous numbers, and it's an amazing thing to be a part of. Just to be able to play 8 shows a week like you do on theater. So you're in an arena, but you're playing 2 shows on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 2 on Sunday, and those are different cities every time. So it's a great experience to get that much stage time in front of 10,000 people, et cetera, and to get used to that. So great stage experience that's hard to find elsewhere. Yeah,
I get nervous coming out in front of 10 people, so I don't know how you do it in front of all those. Do you still get the pre-show jitters?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I'm nervous every show.
Really?
Yeah. Even small shows, I get nervous for every show.
Yeah. Do you get more nervous at a small show where it's more intimate, or?
No, probably more nervous. Probably TSO makes me more nervous than other shows, because there can be times in the show where you've gone from this pyro going off and all the lights and it's gigantic and everyone's playing, to a moment where it's just you with an acoustic and you're playing something, and the people, it's not like a standard rock audience where people are talking and things like that. It's just 10,000 dead silent people like staring at you playing guitar, and that can be kind of like, that's probably the most nerve-wracking like moments of performing for me right there. But in general, anytime I get up on a stage, there's always a little bit of anxiety that goes with it.
Wow. And if you were to give some advice to a younger musician up and coming, what would it be about being a musician?
Just try to outwork everybody else. The landscape has changed significantly with the digital world. It's great in that you can make yourself known from anywhere these days. When I was a kid, you needed to be in one of the bigger cities to build a music career. Now, you're creating content online, you can become known from literally any place in the world. You can grow up in a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, and if you're practicing 10 hours a day and uploading content, that can take off for you, But the trick is, with a lot of that stuff, is how do you actually earn a living? Because the window is always shutting when it comes to paying your bills in life and going like, okay, I've got to figure out how to make my money with this too. I watched that window shut on a lot of my friends. Like when we were young kids, everybody wanted to do, play guitar for a living, and the window shut for them when it came to that end of things. So, the artistry is one thing, to be creative and do what you want with music, and that's great, and that should never die. But like to actually figure out how to pay your bills with it is another thing too, to figure out like how you're going to be a professional and be able to like handle life itself. The logistics of life is a whole nother battle.
Right. No, that's some great advice for up and coming musicians. So we are talking with Joel Hoekstra, and he's telling us about how he got into music, some of his history in music. And you talked about your album, and that is called Joel Hoekstra 13.
Well, the project is called Joel Hoekstra's 13. That's the rock side project. So there's been 3 albums under that moniker: Dying to Live, Running Games, and Crash of Life. So those 3 have been released, and working on the 4th. And I also had 3 solo albums that I put out simply under Joel Hoekstra that were instrumental. And that's That's why I changed the name, because I thought, I need a different name. It's not really those albums. Joel Hoekstra's 13 sounds like you'd just be listening to a band. The hitch is that I do all the writing on it. So it's my opportunity to kind of be the dictator and be like, I'm writing the lyrics, the vocal melodies, the riffs, everything, oversee the artwork, oversee the mix and what it's going to sound like. And so yeah, that's the one that I'm easily by 10 million miles, the one that I'm the most hands-on with in terms of what occurs.
Yeah, there's a lot to it that goes behind the scenes. On my way in, I listened to Torn Into Lies.
What to do? You're
It was an interesting song. Can you tell us how you came up with those lyrics and basically what it's about?
Yeah, I mean, all the songs are kind of like sometimes I go with like phonetics, just things that like kind of flow with the melody. Like I'll have a melody in my head and like somehow words will just start coming out of my mouth that match the phonetics of it, and then I'll just build around that. And I love leaving things kind of open-ended for people to find their own interpretations in and find things that they can relate to. So the song is relatable to them and not have it just be some specific story for me. But in regards to, the musicality of it, it's kind of like How Do You Part Two, because How Do You is a song off of Running Games. And I liked it a lot. And when I was going to write for Crash of Life, I ended up just kind of going, how about another one with that same feel? And I thought, well, there's really no harm in having like similar sounding songs between myself. I mean, I can rip myself off, I suppose, is the way I looked at it. So it's kind of like the brother of that song. They're very similar sounding songs. So anyway, and it just kind of ventures off. And Vinny Appice is always great about taking songs on crazy turns and unexpected things, different feels within the song. And, I love that aspect of it. So while I'm very hands-on with the writing, I'm actually usually very hands-off when it comes to what these guys play on it. I usually just take like whatever they play on it and roll with it.
Right.
You just hire the people who's playing you enjoy and then let them do their thing and build around it. So sometimes it's the unexpected, and that's cool. I like that. That's part of the fun of making an album, not having
it kind of builds itself. It's like building a house.
Yeah. So I mean, that way they get a little bit of artistic freedom too. It's not like you're just saying like, hey, I want you to play these notes on the album. That'd be kind of a bummer. I mean, the songs themselves, the framework and the lyrics, the melody, the chord changes, the riffs, whatever, that's definitely written by me. But when it comes to people's individual parts, it's like, now just do your thing.
Cool. And you said something about ripping off and you were joking about it, but if someone did rip off something of yours, do you get pissed off or are you flattered?
Flattered, for sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, I don't mind people ripping me off at all. I mean, that's cool. I love when I see people covering my stuff online. That's always an amazing thing that like, you feel like, wow, that person actually took the time to go and try and learn the solo I played on that song. Or sometimes I see even my old solo albums, like my acoustic album, people trying to cover themselves playing like some of the fingerstyle stuff that I did. And I always think that's great.
Right. And as people look up to you, is there anyone that you look up to that you haven't shared the stage with that you would love to?
Oh man, that's a long list. That's a really long list. So I admire ton of guitar players. I mean, there's, I think part of the beauty about guitar is that you can be good so many different ways, and music in general. It's not just guitar. There's no one way to do it. And that's the beauty of it, is that everybody's personality kind of comes through in the end and you end up playing like your personality. So it's a hard one to answer because it's like a huge can of worms when you ask that question, because there's a lot of guitarists I admire, and there's something to be learned from most people. I don't care, necessarily what skill level they're at. There's always some kind of lesson you can learn from people, like about, playing and what they're doing, that you'll like it, check out their approach and go, oh, it's interesting. Like I wouldn't have done it that way. And like, let me think about that. So that tends to be why I think, the longer you're in this, the more you end up learning from the people that you work with. The more, because they're the people you spend the most time with, when you're working on their material. So that ends up being a lot of your influences are people you literally like work with, and people that contributed to the music that you learn.
Awesome. And what do you have coming up that we haven't talked about yet?
One other thing I left out is that I teach virtually, and that happens when I'm at home. It's a set weekly schedule, and when I tour, it kind of comes down to sign-up lessons where people are on an email list, and I say, these are the times I'm offering. Let me know if you want one of them. And so that's something that I kept from COVID. That was like something that started in 2020 when all the touring got shut down. And I do sessions for people all the time, like guest solos. I have one waiting. And so all that stuff kind of put together, it makes for a really diverse kind of cool way to still improve yourself on a daily basis with music. That's the one thing I didn't really touch on earlier, but staying really busy with music it's not just about paying bills or making a living, though that's an important thing, but it's also about the want to be better. So finding a way to merge those two things is really important. Like, if you're a content creator, cool. If you're making the money from it, I don't know that a lot of them are. A lot of people have like a day job and then they spend all their free time working on that content and working on it. Finding a way to get paid to actually improve is kind of always been the important thing for me. Like, all right, I want to get better. I want to keep practicing. I want to keep playing guitar all the time and get better. But you have to figure out how do those two things come together.
Yeah, and if someone wants to take one of those private lessons with you, they can just go to your website and find out how to do that.
Yeah, if they hit contact on there, that's my email, info@joelhoekstra.com, and people can ask about taking lessons on there. Yeah.
Awesome. I know you're a busy man, so we don't want to take up your whole day. I appreciate you coming in with us and telling us these stories. And we think that people come in as kind of an acquaintance and leave as a friend. So we want to thank you for being our new friend. And keep a close eye on my buddy Pat Badger. Make sure he doesn't have too much tequila on this cruise coming up.
Pat's good people, man. All the extreme guys are such great guys. So I'm sure he'll behave himself.
Yeah, he always does. I'm just kidding. And yeah, hopefully I'll catch you when you come through New England sometime.
Awesome. Cool, man.
Thanks for everything, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Right back at you.
My friend. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Have a good one. Bye-bye.